Hey guys, what's up? Josh Castle back again, Versatile Trading. And today's video, we're just really going to talk about the action behind OSTK, the action behind ROKU, the action behind WWE, and also, what's the other one that we're going to talk about? GBR, we can talk about GBR as well, and just whatever was actually making moves and how we would be able to enter them with simple ease. Even if we miss the first part of the move, we can still capture the second part of the move. Anytime a move comes in, that has momentum. It takes a little bit to reset, especially the volume is still there. But when the momentum resets, it's another beautiful move to the upside or the downside, just depending on what direction the stock is coming from. But yeah, let's go ahead and start talking about OSTK. So in order to understand OSTK, we're just going to talk about the year to date. So I'm going to go ahead and target the year to date. So what we have here is some action. We got a downtrend here. We have some consolidation here, and finally it dips. Now, this is an overextension on the downside, but look exactly where it begins to stop. This stop has a very, very good connection with the support right about, yeah, right here. So notice that. Whoa, what happened? All right. So notice that here we have a very good area that gets congested, just consolidates, access support very nicely, and then here we have the wick of this candle bar yesterday touching this area. Now, this is a pretty influential support area because, as you can see on the past history, there was a consolidation period before the curl entered. So, and the way that this candle bar represents itself, the sellers got rejected here. You notice that this wick touched the influential support area, but then it began to reverse. It began to curl up on intraday. And this just shows us that the sellers were not in control. They lost. They were weak, and the buyers took over. And this is a very simple candle bar that represents a reversal. So, and this downtrend was already overextended. So when this candle bar came in with the reversal, we could already assume that this was going to make an upside move. Now, where exactly are we going to be able to target that upside move? It's just going to depend on the previous action that has happened on the year to date. So some good positions to be able to put. We're going to definitely put a support, or I mean a resistance line right on top of this wick. And then we're going to also put some, here, let me get rid of that green bar. That way we don't, so that way you can see how well these things connect. So here's another area that connects very well. Notice that here we got this wick that touches, and we got a couple bodies here that, and the pullback here. And also we got a couple bounces that happen here, here, and some congestion that, or consolidation that takes place here. And then we could do another one, and this one looks like we have a pretty good connection right here. And this connection just has to do with this area. Let me just extend the chart a little bit. So again, we got this wick, another area that gets very well. This area, it makes a very good valid connection with whether it's wicks or bodies. That's just how I take them into account. Okay. Okay, so now when we look at this, our initial plan would say, okay, this is a reversal taking place. We're going to go to the upside now. So what target areas are we going to be able to put? So now we got to look intraday to get a close observation of where we could potentially have confirmation points. These confirmation points are going to be very important to us because they're going to let us know that the uptrend is actually happening, that we're actually making moves. So these ones, I like to have a specific preset on them, and it's just the tiny dash lines. Intraday, if they're long and thick like this, then I like to just have it represent the year to date. But mini dash lines like this, more of an intraday solution for me. And this is a 1 hour chart on the 20-day. So I'm really just trying to spot the action that was had a good position on this previous data that we see here. And then sometimes I do need to go a little bit lower if I can't spot much, and lower on the time frame, I mean. We could also do some Fibonacci lines, but I really don't rely on those that much. We could also make another line on this, but honestly, I don't like making that many lines. It kind of just stomps us out for making a good move. So now that I have made those specific intraday lines based on previous action, check this out. So we have a consolidation period on the previous day that begins to curl up a little bit on post-market. It begins starting to uptrend pre-market today, but notice how the 50-day SMA is on top of the 200-day SMA. It represents a bullish formation again. It's a bullish signal indicating an uptrend. So not only do we have a candle bar representing that we have a reversal taking place from the previous day, but we also have these SMAs letting us know that this is a bullish indicator that we're actually going to enter into an uptrend. And notice that we do have a morning pop here. So this line again represents the action from the previous history. And notice how that wick touches. So it was pretty influential to begin with. And then this area begins to get rejected by VWAP. This is my VWAP line. But it consolidates here on this line, which was, I believe, the high of the day of the previous day. That's what we made this line to be. And if we look at it, it looks like it was the high of the day on the previous day. Not only that, but we also have a little bit of a technical here, a downtrend. Once a downtrend breaks, boom, we have that curl continuation. This is where I would pick up with minimum risk. If it falls below my 30.53 line, then I know this is not reversing, it's actually an uptrend. But from here, I would position myself 500 shares, 1,000 shares, depending how much I'm risking, depending how big my account is, because you don't want to risk more than 2% of your account. But yeah, I would definitely enter right here, 30.83, and just ride it all the way up, hitting my target points. These aren't necessarily my profit points. My profit point would be my year-to-date lines, the dash lines. So 33.77 would be my first profit point. I like to color code these green. And then, so I get rid of half my shares, and then I sell again when it begins to top off. And then I can go in for the scalp move here at 34.18 to 35.30, make a quick buck there. So yeah, this was very well thought out, from picturing the candle bar of the previous day, getting a accurate prediction of the reversal, and then the SMAs picking up the action. Here, consolidation taking place at this influential support, which was the previous high of day, the downtrend breaking and curling up. This was just beautiful, a beautiful, beautiful play. And I called this out yesterday. I sent out an email of my watch list and had these specific price target areas and stuff like that. And we could also do the SMA strategy that I taught earlier here at this location as well, or this stock. Notice that when it downtrends, it pulls back up, gets rejected by the 50-day SMA. We can begin our short here, minimum risk. If it goes above this line, 33.75, then we would sell, or above the 50-day SMA, we would sell. But it goes from 33.75 down to 32.58. So we can do a quick move to the short side there. And then I wouldn't necessarily pick anything up here. I would wait until it crosses above the 50-day SMA where we see the bounce. And here we have two bounces. We have a bounce here at this technical point, technical line, and then another bounce at the 50-day SMA. This is where I would buy. Minimum risk. If it falls below my 50-day SMA, I would get out of the trade. But until then, I'm going to be riding it. 33.42. It's a high of 34.35. Multiple points, just making these small movements throughout the day using these types of strategies. And then for the rest of the day, I think it was just dead. But yeah, pretty good stuff here that happened. Yeah, I can also talk about DERM. Let me just go ahead and catch my breath. Let me get some water. And hopefully I'm not talking that fast. I kind of just noticed that I might be talking a little bit too fast. Go ahead and just slow down the video for the first part if you do feel like I'm talking too fast. But DERM, man, this was fucking amazing. It was just great. Sorry for my language, but this was the easiest thing to short based on indicators. So let's go ahead and get straight to the action on how we could have spotted the short from a mile away, which was honestly so simple to do. Okay, so DERM has a catalyst, makes it gap up pre-market, and we have this nice little wave, right? And okay, so I'm actually going to be talking about the technicals here so that you can understand a little bit more about the technicals as well. We're not really going to be looking at the year to date for this one because we don't really need to. We can just base it off the pre-market action. If there's not really much to gap down to, including like, I mean, there still is a lot to gap down to using previous day. But if there wasn't this action here, if it was just straight flat and we didn't know exactly where it was going to go, then we would have to look at the year to date to set up some support and resistance lines where we can see where we would have rejection points or bounces. So yeah, just keep that in mind. But here we have a lot of lines that we can use. So we got this line right here, which is just going to be the high of the day on the previous day. We also have this area right here, which is where we have the first rejection here. And we also got this area there and this downside there, right? We could also add a midpoint here, but I don't like making that many lines. It's just, it looks crazy when there's too many lines. But you might like it, I don't know. Everybody's different. So, okay, we have a pre-market high to begin with. We have a downtrend that begins to curl up. It tackles the VWAP very nicely, gets congested here, consolidates, and finally we have that nice pop where it gets rejected at the pre-market high. But notice that when it gets rejected, it bounces right on VWAP. Again, you can use VWAP as a support line, as a bounce point or rejection site. So we see that bounce, and with that bounce, it has that strength to go past this double top that we see here, this pre-market high, and then again it pulls back, hits that high at 1147. So then we make our new line there. Now we have a nice downtrend occurring, so we can make a downtrend line here, making a good connection. Here's a good connection. Notice I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points connecting very well. And we do have this being bullish. The 50-day SMA is above the 200-day SMA, and it is uptrending, right? So it's considered bullish. It's a bullish technical indicator when the 50-day SMA is above the 200-day SMA. So right when the action falls below the 50-day SMA, when we begin to see the 50-day SMA begin to arch, we should already begin to know that, hey, this is downtrending. The 50-day SMA pretty much swallowed it whole, and it's going to bring it down. Unless it pops in the morning and it continues on. But I mean, we have 3 things letting us know that this isn't going to pop in the morning. It's not going to have a morning pop. We have this downtrend. Notice that it drops right away before the market opens and makes a new support line here, which is very far away from this downtrend line. Okay, so not only do we have the 50-day SMA, but we have this downtrend line. Thirdly, we have the VWAP. The action falls below VWAP, and that's considered bearish. So right at the open, we begin to see a lot of sell-off. And not only that, but this is float rotation in play, guys. This is when people begin to take profits because everybody who had picked up shares here is already taking profits around this area. And right when the market opens, everybody's just selling, trying to take their profits. So we begin to see a huge sell-off take place, and then we get that pullback or that pull-up. It gets rejected at VWAP. This is where you begin your short. If you did not begin your short here, then you could begin your short here. And that's 1057. Hits at 947, which was an important support or resistance line that we created using the pre-market data. Let me just go ahead and color code these for the profit areas. So we would take our first profit here. Okay. We could also take our second profit right about here because it's more far apart. There's more range here. I noticed that these locations that are marked green are locations that were pretty influential on the previous day. We have the high point here, and then we have sort of like a midpoint here. And then I don't think we could have used the SMA strategy on this one until, yeah, you really can't use it right here. Other than shorting the stock when it gets rejected here, we could have began our short at 931 and covered when it began to consolidate, so around 906. That's a good amount of profit there, especially because it's a cheap stock. But oh, and then you could have caught this action right here as well. W formation. I really like these W formations. It's another trick that I use where if the downtrend breaks, we have a midpoint that forms higher low, continues, you pick it up, minimum risk area when the curl continues, 9:15, and then you have the opportunity to take some profit at 9:31, and then take the rest of the profit when it begins to top off, which is around this area when it begins to lose momentum. And how do we spot the momentum losing? Is the MACD. Notice how the MACD, these green bars begin to fade right around here. This is letting us know that, okay, the momentum is actually failing us. Even though these candle bars are green, the momentum is already failing because these green bars that are down here are fading. So that was the idea of the short behind DERM. Hopefully you guys learned something pretty valuable here. Multiple confirmation points just letting us know that this is going to downtrend right away. Again, float rotation, the downtrend line, the 50-day SMA swallowing this whole, the VWAP action, the price action being below the VWAP, starting it out once it gets rejected here at VWAP. It was just too easy to spot. Like this was crazy action here. And the last stock, because I'm actually running out of time, but here's ROKU, and this is how my chart actually looked like when I made the watch list for ROKU, when I made the idea for ROKU. So this is how we're gonna have our chart look like once we're done explaining everything. But let's just start with the intraday action that we see here. We have a reversal taking place. We have a curl continuation taking place, a small curl continuation, but it does end up continuing hitting the spot that I said it would hit. And the way that we do this is just by looking at the year to date as well. Notice that here we have again that reversal candle bar here, so we can already decide areas where this could possibly hit. So in order for us to get a better connection, because this is kind of choppy, we could either do a weekly chart or we could just do a line chart and kind of just make the lines based off where we see the peaks or the dips. So here is one line at 43.28. Here's another one at 44.02. And then here's one at 41.97. I'm not sure why this works, but I've just been using it. I think this just takes the action from the opening and the closing into consideration instead of everything. I don't know. We'll just have to do a little bit more research on that. But it's been working for me, so that's why I like it. And then I switched to my candle charts, and then I confirm if I could add another line, like extra confirmation or so. So my next line, let's see. So here is a pretty good area where we have these two wicks bounce or the sellers get rejected. So this is a pretty influential spot as well. So I have enough lines to form, but I know that ROKU doesn't move that much. We know that the average on this is like 1.5 to 2 points. So I don't expect this to make a big move and reach this area. Especially because it's barely reversing, it should just be like a small move. And it's that one right there, okay? So let's go back to the intraday. So on the intraday, what we see here is a major downtrend. And again, I like spotting these downtrends because then we can use the SMA strategy. And this one actually does it perfectly right here. After it breaks that downtrend and it consolidates for a little bit on this area and the action begins to get thin here, we got that pullback at the 50-day SMA. 41.79, we could just walk it up to the 200-day SMA, 42.22, get some profit there. It's not that much though, so I really wouldn't have targeted that one, especially because it's high price. You really can't size in on this, but just keep that in mind for other shares. So finally, the downtrend, or the downtrend breaks here officially when it consolidates around this area and we get a curl continuation happening. So this curl happens, but then the curl is too overextended, it shoots up way too fast, and it begins to downtrend. But I love this pattern formation that we have going on here. This pattern formation that we have going here is just a downtrend. So we have a downtrend, and then we have an area of support. And that area of support I'm going to make right here where the action closed. I'm going to see if I can make a better line. So it looks like there's two lines. Here's the overextended line where we have the overextended candle bars. And then here we have the more accurate line. We have better connections here. But either way, you could use both of them, or you could just pick one or the other, depending. If you want to be safer, go with the line on top where we have the overextended candle bars. If you're trying to pick up something that's passing this trend line and you want to be on the safe side, just go with the one on top. But if you're confident with what's happening behind the price action, I would just pick it up once it crosses above this line that's more connected. So downtrend breaks, the action goes above, as we see here on pre-market, and then another downtrend line forms. Now, not only do we have another downtrend line that forms, but we have a higher low that forms as well. And we have this area of support here. So we saw at the candle bar that a reversal was already taking place. We see that the curl began to happen, so we could have another curl continuation begin to happen. I see this a lot of the time where we just have this big action that just begins to curl up. So especially when it has action that looks like this. So right then and there, we can buy with minimum risk. If it falls below, then the move is not going to happen. We can just get out of the trade. But if we buy here, minimum risk, we begin to scale in small and add as it hits certain points. But it goes from 41.87 to a high of 42.66. Again, we get this action that pops. It pulls back on the VWAP, pops again, takes some profit here, pulls back on that VWAP, and it gets explosive power right here. It just shoots straight up. And that 42.75 was our price target line. And it looks like it did end up reaching that. And we could have applied that SMA strategy here as well. It was just beautiful. We could have used a 50-day SMA as a risk line, where if the action fell below, we would be able to get out of the trade. But if we're just targeting this area, this is where we would take all the profits. But we would begin somewhere around here, probably on this bounce, 42.31. That's honestly where I would have begin. So 42.31, take profits at 42.76. Small profit, but again, these stocks aren't volatile. But if you do find a volatile stock that's actually doing something like this, then it'll have much more rewarding effects towards your account, I guess I should say. But yeah, we're done with this video. I actually have to go now, but Josh Castle, guys, Versatile Trading. Let people know about me. I love teaching this stuff. I have a passion for day trading. I just love it. I love it so much. Make sure you subscribe and make sure you comment, like, and tell your friends. Thanks.